Alright, I'm gonna say this once, and I'm gonna say it once only. I started this fucking channel for auditing and cop watching. Not a fucking Jerry Springer show. And I got something else for you too.
These nuts.
All right. What's up, everybody? Waiting for more people to show up here, or hopefully more people will show up. Yeah. And while I'm waiting for people to show up, let's do a little bit of something like this. Maybe. Possibility. All right. Well, I'm 3 minutes into this show and nobody's showing up yet.
This video was intended to inform and educate the public.
When people appear on the news because of an active felony case, usually it's not someone wearing a police uniform out doing police things in the police unit.
What happens, though, when a town hires a police officer out on bond?
We're the laughingstock of the community.
As a Log Lane cop, she has a badge and a gun. She also has a mugshot and 5 felony charges for theft.
Faith!
As Log Lane officer Don Flassar remains under investigation for stealing more than $30,000 in VIN inspection fees.
She is a criminal.
I don't have any comments.
You don't have any comments?
No.
Okay. Pending felony charges do not affect her state certification to be a police officer.
Excuse me? Baking powder?
It's the agency that approves every cop in Colorado with Peace Officer Standards training certificates. Officers need active post certificates to show they're in good standing with training and a clean background.
Post Board doesn't have any teeth. They don't have the ability to intervene. Even if a complaint was made, they wouldn't be able to do anything.
Spurlock says it would take an act of Colorado's legislature to give Post the power to suspend someone's certification while they face felony charges.
Post Board should have the ability to at least suspend that person so that person is not acting as a peace officer in the state of Colorado, with potentially jeopardizing other criminal justice systems in place.
Dude, this is pretty fucked up right here.
Criminal cases handled by Don Flassar could be in jeopardy because she could be a felon herself if convicted. A records request with Log Lane reveals Officer Flassar has given out 22 tickets for things like speeding, damage to private property, and animal issues. She's enforcing the law, while other law enforcement officers consider her a criminal suspect. Log Lane's mayor and other town officials have refused to return our phone calls and emails about this issue. We've reached out to local lawmakers who have worked on police accountability bills in the past. Still no word from them either on this matter. To be clear, though, Flassar is innocent until proven guilty. Her felony trial is scheduled for February.
My question is, can Post suspend anyone's license?
Yeah, it happens quite frequently. They have the power to suspend someone's license if they don't have up-to-date training. But right now, there's no rules on what says what should happen if an officer is facing pending felony charges.
That would mean there would be no consequences. We could do whatever we wanted. Oh!
That's true. We could do whatever we want.
This video was intended to inform and educate the public.
And another one gone, and another one gone. God slapped him right to the fiery depths of hell. Another one bites the dust. Swallowed into the depths of hell.
Massive sinkhole threatens to swallow up a West Virginia police department. A huge sinkhole has opened up right next to a West Virginia police department.
Do you feel that dark abyss? All your sins punished.
Disrupting traffic and requiring several schools to move their classes online. The sinkhole, located on West Virginia Route 20 right next to the police department, is a long-standing problem in Hinton, West Virginia. When the sinkhole first opened up in June, it was just 6 feet wide and about 30 feet deep, according to a news release from the West Virginia Department of Transportation. Officials said that the original collapse was due to a failing 90-year-old drain beneath the road. But is it possible that this is just blue line karma at work? You decide.
And that's called karma. And another one gone, and another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Hey.
This video was intended to inform and educate the public.
Heading to the party by the side of the road. So many ways to go. Yeah, everybody pees. Everybody pees. Let's make sure we keep our kidneys healthy.
A Shelby County woman was arrested on Monday for aggravated battery to a peace officer. Shelby County State's Attorney Nicole Cronk says on November 14th, Hannah Strode, 27, made contact of an insulting or provoking nature with 4 peace officers by urinating on the officers.
Very excited that I placed on him.
So quick, right here. I paid good money to see that.
Usually you pay double for that action.
We're told Strode attempted to bite the hand of Shelbyville officer. Officials say Strode made insulting or provoking nature with a family or household member by pulling the victim's hair and biting her on the hand. Strode had previously been convicted of the same offense in a 2017 Shelby County case. Strode was taken to the Shelby County Jail, where her bond is $50,000.
Yeah, everybody pees. Everybody pees. Let's make sure we keep our kidneys healthy.
Where
Okay, that was some funny shit. That was funny. Let's see. The video James Freeman posted got me lit earlier. Pepperoni, can you put the link in? Oh wait, you can't. That's right. You're not a mod. Hold on. All right, Pepperoni, can you put the link in for me? At that video? See, I don't mind playing other people's videos. That's what they're there for.
If you shop on Amazon, you should use this tool. It's a browser extension that automatically compares Amazon to other sellers to see if there's a... Imagine being...
Imagine being taken unconscious to a hospital and while unconscious, being given drugs that could be lethal to you. Then when you complain about it, you have government thugs unleashed on you. That's exactly what happened recently to one of our viewers. And today we're going to tell his story.
Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. It's Rob, and I'm one of the Freeman people.
It's the Freeman people.
Earlier this year, another viewer of the channel named Rob had an absolutely miserable experience at his local hospital, followed by a police report that contradicted itself, and culminating in what looks, on the surface at least, to be an arrest made in retaliation for a sit-in filing grievances against a person holding a public office. He sent us his video and we spoke on the phone for a while, and today I'll play clips from both. Head over to Rob's channel to watch his full video. The link is in the description below. So Rob is from Wyoming, Michigan. I guess 2 state names leads to double the statism. Real tyrants seem to think it's okay to ignore people in their community whom they've been granted some illusion of authority over, especially when they hide behind the excuse of hurt feelings. And Wyoming, Michigan seems to have some thin-skinned tyrants running the show. Our friend Rob is an asthma sufferer. Now, this isn't your run-of-the-mill, use your inhaler and you're fine type asthma. Here's how he described it to me on the phone.
I have really bad asthma. Had it all my life. Intubated more times than I can count. I arrived at the emergency room twice with no vital signs at all.
Rob had an awful asthma attack on May 13th of this year, and an even worse experience in the hospital following it.
I believe it was on May 13th. I had some symptoms of asthma, and I called 911, requested an ambulance. lost consciousness while I was on the phone with 911. The paramedics arrived. They found me unconscious on my floor, began administering first aid. They cut all the clothes off my body, ultimately transported me to the hospital as naked as the day I was.
This isn't Rob's first rodeo going to the hospital, and his family seems to know his condition better than the doctors involved.
That night, my sister came down to the hospital to check on my condition. She asked the doctors what medication they were using. I told her that they were using propofol. The medication actually killed Michael Jackson. This is listing that immediately. They should know better in my medical files to not use propofol. They claimed they couldn't find my medical file, but yet my discharge papers from the hospital advised me to follow up with my primary care physician by name. The following morning, my sister called to check on my condition. She asked if they had taken me off the propofol. They said they did, but I was trying to pull my tubes out, so they had to put me back on it. She reiterated, take him off it immediately. He has adverse reactions. It's in his medical files. So at that point, I think they started to realize they maybe messed. Did definitely take that medication, and that afternoon I started coming out of my medically induced coma. From my experience with the medication, I knew what it felt like to be on it and then come out of the coma on that medication, and I knew instantly that I had been subjected to malpractice.
Ooh, malpractice. That's a big one. Malpractice would make anyone nervous to be in a place where they've been subjected to it. It's also a phrase that will send medical staff scrambling to corroborate a false story that helps them avoid it.
I knew I'd been subjected to malpractice, and I didn't feel safe there, so I just simply wanted to leave. My problem was I didn't have clothes in my nightgown, and with my butt hanging out and everything, and I went out to the nurse station and said, hey, what happened to my clothes? I just want to leave. And they, of course, quickly ushered me back in the room that I didn't want to be in, and they said they checked. I didn't want to be, so I said, did you destroy my clothes? Is there something from... This happened about 2 or 3 times where they, ushered me back in the room where I didn't want to be, and they said they'd check on it, and I just kept going back out because I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to leave. And by about that 3rd time, I mean, it was real quick, they had brought in the brute squad to manhandle me.
I'm on the brute squad.
You are the brute squad.
Now, mind you, at this point, I'm wearing a bracelet on my wrist. The hospital put on my wrist that says fall risk. This is all within an hour of waking from a medically induced coma after nearly dying, being transported unconscious by ambulance to the hospital. And they sent in the brute squad to force me back into my room and grab me by the arm like I was their prisoner and force me back in the room.
At this point, his stay at the hospital seems less than voluntary. And understandably, our friend Rob wants to know the name of the guard who he feels assaulted him. Nobody on the floor would identify the security guard, and security within the process of calling the police, always a poor choice. Our friend has been a longtime watcher of James' channel, so he knows that calling the police only makes matters worse. But they were already called in, so Rob decided to file assault charges against the security guard. In retaliation, the hospital threatened to file assault charges back. And when Rob asked to get a copy of the security film from the floor he was on, they wanted to charge him the highest amount possible for the videos he was requesting. Typical tyrant move. If you want to gather evidence, even exculpatory evidence that would possibly exonerate you as a defendant, the tyrant does everything in their power to block you. Rob inspected the police report from this incident where he found contradictory statements by hospital staff.
Not only does the police report contradict itself, it also contradicts my medical records. For starters, the police report clearly states that claims that I was refusing to leave, as does the 911 call. They called the police and said I was refusing to leave. But at the same time, the police report also recognized that I didn't have proper clothing to leave. And even furthermore, it states that I agreed to leave once I had been properly medically discharged. Which raises the question, is the hospital claiming I was refusing to leave before I had been properly medically discharged? And how is that even possible? So that raised some pretty big questions right there that I wanted to address with the city prosecutor, not to mention the fact that while the police report is claiming I leave, the hospital records that I requested clearly indicate on multiple occasions that I was demanding to leave.
After this, Rob reached out to the city attorney, Heather Chapman, about both his assault complaint and the false police report complaint. She refused to call him back, and after sending emails to her and a few attempts to reach her directly, he finally got through to her. He's planning on using the call in a follow-up video on his channel soon, but he shared the call with me over the phone to include in this video. But as a copy of a copy of a copy is kind of hard to hear, let me summarize it a bit. In the call to Heather Chapman, he questioned the city attorney about whether she understood the basis of his false police report complaint. She sidestepped the question, instead asking if he ever got a copy of the actual police report or the security videos from the hospital. She did this as a way to redirect the conversation. Rob tells her he got a copy of the report, but not the video, because as I mentioned earlier, the hospital is charging him an amount that puts it out of reach for him currently. He then reminds her she didn't answer his first question, to which she then provides another redirect, asking if the hospital offered forms to help him offset the cost. He tells her they didn't, again reminds her she didn't answer his first question. After that, she tells Rob the real reason she hasn't gotten back to him.
The last time we talked, you told me that you were recording me after we got done talking, so I'm not going to talk about how I...
Ma'am, you're a government agent. You have no expectation of privacy. You're performing your public... You're neglecting to perform your public duties, and that's what I'm documenting.
People who take their salary out of taxpayers' bank accounts really take issue with being recorded. I wonder why that is. She goes on to tell him she disagrees with him that the security guard assaulted him. She hadn't reviewed security video, just relied on witness statements. And she ignored the false police report claims Rob brought up. He tried again to reach Heather Chapman, both via email and phone calls, but she refused to continue communicating with him. So he reached out to the person in charge of city employees, the city manager. So this takes us to Rob's original video, wherein he plays for us all the voicemails he left with the city manager's office and the threatening phone calls he received from the local police as well. The city manager is too self-important to take calls himself, so he delegates that to an assistant. All of Rob's voicemails are on the video on his channel. I'm going to start with the first one now.
Jennifer Stone is out of the office. Please leave a message at the tone. When finished, you may hang up or press pound for additional options.
You're not real big on answering your phone, are you? My name's Rob. I have some questions and concerns. If you could return my call, my number's... I appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.
See, here's where Rob made a glaring mistake. Jennifer Stoll is merely the assistant to the city manager. Everyone who's watched any white-collar, office-based reality TV show knows the assistant to title is merely ornamental. So this person is incapable of doing anything and should clearly not be on the taxpayer's payroll. Yay, government bloat! All jokes aside, though, Rob started his voicemail with a criticism of Jennifer Stoll. This begs the question, does criticism give a public servant the right to not take a citizen's phone call, especially if that's their main job? This takes me to a recent county commission meeting I attended and spoke at during public comment. I was frustrated with the actions of our clerk here in Torrance County and compared it to a private business. If a private business acts in a way the consumer doesn't like, they can go elsewhere. But when you have people in perceived positions of power who decide to ignore their constituency, you can't take your business elsewhere. Anyway, then he received calls from the deputy public safety chief, or as Rob refers to him as the feelings police chief, Kip Snyder.
Stay home and eat all the freaking chips, Kip.
Hi, Kip. This is Rob speaking on a recorded line.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Listen, keep calling City Hall, man. You got to stop.
I don't have to stop.
You're going to get criminally charged if you continue to call and threaten and harass.
I'm not threatening and harass. I'm actually calling to voice my grievances against the government, which I have to do. So what will I be charged with?
Listen, that's not true. There is a certain point where it's unlawful.
What point? Explain to me at what point.
When the prosecutor decides, and he said it's very close. So I'm just trying to learn.
Oh, it's very close. How? No, at what point does it become a problem? Explain to me. And remember, you're being recorded.
I'm quite clear of that. When it becomes harassing.
Oh, I'm not harassing, though. I'm simply asking for them to return my call because I have concerns.
How is that harassing? You've gotten your answers and your return calls.
I have not gotten return calls. I have not gotten answers. I have not. I've actually recorded everything, so you can say that all you want.
Robert, we just have the documentation of your communications with everybody in the city.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Then why aren't they returning my calls? Because they know I'm right. Because they have actual concerns that are legitimate, and they're not returning my calls. Why? Because they know I'm right. So, you dude.
The cost of gas, groceries, and housing are out of control. Families are having to choose between paying rent.
I'm going to continue to call until I get a response. I'm not threatening, I'm not harassing. I'm actually trying to air my grievances. I'm trying to actually get an understanding of why the city is refusing to respond to my concerns. They're legitimate concerns, dude. So if you want to arrest me for raising legitimate concerns, it's going to look horrible for the city. It's going to be a huge lawsuit. Yeah, okay. I can understand this isn't going anywhere, and I suggest using that language with me is not really a good idea. I don't care. I don't care. You using your language with me is not a good idea either. Threatening to arrest me for contacting City Hall because I have concerns is not gonna. It's not gonna go over very well, dude. You're not listening. You're not listening. You're not listening. Who's the servant here? Who's the public servant here? Huh, Kip? Are you gonna stop, Robert? No, I'm not. I'm gonna continue to call until I can get some response. I need a response. Very good, Mr. Hammer. Have a great day, sir.
I love how when weak-minded people get backed into a corner in a debate or argument, they'll say, "You're not listening." Kip flexes for Rob by telling him he's going to be arrested for calling City Hall to get answers from his civil servants, yet they're too thin-skinned to take criticism. So that's evidently harassment. And also, how do you define a word by using the same word you're trying to define? Saying harassing phone calls are harassing because of harassment shows why this genius ended up in law enforcement to begin with. Kip suggested that Rob was breaking a city ordinance against, quote, unwanted phone calls. So I looked through the city of Wyoming's ordinances to find what he was referring to. There were a couple of ordinances that didn't apply, but the ordinance that seemed to cover what Kip is claiming Rob broke by making calls to the city hall to get answers from a tyrannical assistant to the city manager, that would be found at section 50-63, harassing communication. It shall be unlawful for any person by the use of a telephone to do or perform any of the following. 1, disturb the peace, quiet, or privacy of any person or family by repeated and continued calls intended to harass or disturb the person or family to whom the calls are made. So point 1 here is the only one that Rob might have been breaking here. But the key phrase in this ordinance is, quote, intended to harass. The Michigan Penal Code defines the word harass in Chapter 750, Section 411H-C. It says, harassment means conduct directed toward a victim that includes but is not limited to repeated or continuing unconsented contact that would cause a reasonable individual to suffer emotional distress and that actually causes the victim to suffer emotional distress. This seems to be what Officer Stay Home and Eat All the Chips Kip was referring to. However, the penal code continues, harassment does not include constitutionally protected activity or conduct that serves a legitimate purpose. And while we're here in section 411H, we'll look at point B, which defines emotional distress. That means the significant mental suffering or distress that may, but does not necessarily require medical or other professional treatment or counseling. If Mr. Holt's assistant to the city manager can't cope with people calling to levy complaints against city employees, perhaps frying burgers at McDonald's will cause her less emotional distress. That said, let's go back to the harassment code. The way our manufactured freedom here in the United States is structured, a city ordinance cannot supersede state statute. So that last line can and should clear Mr. Homrick of any wrongdoing by calling City Hall to discuss his complaints against the city attorney. He was exercising a constitutionally protected activity while serving a legitimate purpose. It seems the city of Wyoming is using its brute squad to intimidate citizens and strip them of their constitutionally protected rights. My favorite highlight of Rob's video comes about 23 minutes in, after he discusses this phone call of intimidation from Kippy. Note the times of the 2 phone calls I'll highlight, and Rob's awesome shout out to Kip.
Kip Snyder's phone call was clearly nothing more than his own attempt to threaten me and intimidate me into not exercising my First Amendment rights any further. Well, Kip, how's that working out for you?
You have reached the voicemail of Jennifer Stoll, Administrative Assistant to the City Manager for the City of Wyoming.
Looks like Rob hung up with Kip and called Jennifer right away. That's awesome. So in our interview, Rob informed me that he was, in fact, arrested by the City of Wyoming Police Department after he filed formal complaints against the city attorney and Chief Kippy. It seems they'd rather just pay out a lawsuit against them than listen to their citizens.
Yeah, they decided to arrest me because I was complaining about their crappy service. So basically, petitioning government for a redress of grievances is now a crime.
Well, Michigan, I hope you're enjoying your perceived freedom while these tyrants in charge weaponize law enforcement against you. But at least if this goes to trial, Rob will have the luxury of taking this through to the discovery process. And that won't look good for the city of Wyoming. But I'm going to let him get more into that on his follow-up video that he has planned soon. Head on over to his channel and subscribe so that you don't miss that update video. But what are your thoughts, Freeman people? Leave them in the comments below, and please, the contact info for all involved is in the description and a pinned comment below. I'm sure the city would love to hear from you, but make sure you don't offend the assistant to the city manager. Thanks for taking action against tyranny. Here's a couple of videos you may have missed, and while you're at it, check out the Freeman People merch.
I'm so glad we could all take this trip together, son.
Yeah, and Kayak made getting here so easy.
Batteries, right?
Yes, he knows he can change the battery. Yeah.
Oh, I dropped.
You're good, Ray.
Hopefully, hey, believe it or not, people steal them from me and come over.
Yeah, I know.
They do. You get
I
every
believe
damn
it.
thing you like. Thank you.
I mean, what am I looking for?
Give me some more batteries, baby. Oh, do you have any kind of sweater?
I don't, honey. I'm out of clothes until like the 1st.
Really? No
Yeah.
boots or nothing?
No.
Wow, gloves?
I know. Gloves I have.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy your meal.
All right. Thank you. Here you go. You got 5 of them. 5? Yeah.
Oh, y'all.
I take 2, the one in the back, and then you got 3 people up here.
Listen, while y'all eat shrimp.
Yeah, hell yeah. I do.
Some people have.
Yeah, I have food out there. Thank you.
It's separate, so that they don't need it. It's okay.
I get a big shot.
What you guys doing back there today? I see you back there, Terry.
You got 2, right? Say it's small enough.
Good. Howard's Terry.
Oh, Sarah, hang it in there.
Good.
You eat shrimp? Shrimp.
Boiled shrimp?
Yeah.
Well, you're our first no out of how many? That's pretty good.
Right.
You just want to hold no there, Em.
Okay, well, they're in the separate. They separate. So,
Huh?
are you like allergic to them?
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't give it to you. You
No,
got to
you give it to him.
Oh, yeah.
He can eat it, not me. Oh, hell no.
I can't.
What you got that shrimp?
Pasta.
Huh?
Pasta.
Okay, I take a pot.
It's in there.
It's in there.
Okay. All right, how do it different now?
And then here, give her a different bag, and that way she can have her husband. She got to take 2 bags, and this one, oh, there you go. And then brown one's for him.
Huh?
Brown
That one will be for him.
The brown one got the extra.
Brown got a shrimp bag? Okay.
All right.
So
No,
take care,
Here,
sweetie.
here, take some. Open up your bag and take some blood with you so you can throw those away.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I hear him up there.
I don't play with it. Food.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Let me get 3.
Oompa Loompa. You say you eat shrimp? You said 2 or 3? 2. One.
Yep.
Oh, Jennifer. I know it's sad.
Get him.
Prayers for everybody who needs them. I know we cannot solve everything, but Yeah.
You eat shrimp? You eat shrimp?
Roll.
I swear I don't play with that food.
No, I like that.
Oh.
Hello, Bill. Thank you for driving yesterday. We appreciate your help. Hello, Scott, Kathy.